Hey everybody, okay, so you're probably reading the title of this video. So a woman was attacked because she was mistaken to be a trans woman. Now a lot of you out there would probably be like, what? Okay, I have an interview with the lady in mention, and this interview video is 24 minutes long, but I need you to like bear with me and watch this because it is very educational on a lot of parts. Now here's my thing. A lot of people in the community, and I'm gonna keep this brief with you guys because this interview took place about a week or so ago, and it was actually supposed to go live this previous week, but it's going live this week. So here's the thing. So basically, this woman was mistaken to be a trans person, and so basically, Donald Trump's name was mentioned and everything during her attack as well, and everything. So these people obviously are not big supporters of the LGBT and other cultures that are out there. So also too, with that being said, keep in mind and everything that if a trans woman is hated that much that a biological woman can be mistaken to be a trans person, that means that even regular women that look just like any other woman out there, like trans women that are, you know, like example, you know, Gigi Gorgeous or Nikita Dragon, any of them, women that are very, you know, trans women that are very convincing that may not be out of the closet as trans, that everybody in the world does not know that they're trans, people that are not social media people, you know, every average day trans person that lives their life on, you know, doing their thing, and they look very convincing. So if a trans woman, if a biological woman can be mistaken to be a trans woman, then that right there should say how much at risk not only biological cis women, cis meaning assigned your sex at birth, that biological women can be at risk of being attacked just as much as trans women can be as well, and everything. And basically this lady and her attack that happened in Denver, Colorado, is proof of that, as well as several other cases that you will hear in the interview of me speaking about that has happened here in my own hometown. Also too, I wanted to bring this to YouTube and bring it to everybody's attention, and here's the reason why. After this attack had taken place, the news in Colorado did not bother to pick this up and put it on the news. They felt that it was not incredible enough to be on the news, or that it was not of interest. I tried to reach out to some of the news networks in Colorado, and they did not want to hear from me. I contacted my family that lives in Colorado, and they heard no such thing of it, so they knew that it did not even happen. The lady in mention that is in this interview, she has already filed paperwork and stuff, and I will be doing a follow-up with her later on in the future to see how things are going and if the culprits have been caught. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start the interview, and I'm not going to be at the end of the video. So in other words, please make sure to like, subscribe, please, if you can, please get the word out there, share this video so that way these people can be caught. If, you know, we all have the power of the internet at our hands right now to try to catch people that do this, and so if you can, please, I implore you, please share this video. Please, let's get these people caught, regardless if this had anything to do with somebody being mistaken as trans or not. This is still assault on a woman. So let's go ahead and share this video, let's get the word out there, and let's go ahead and catch these people. Anyways, I'll see you guys later, out through the week, and I love you. My first question is can you your name for me?
My name's Holly Michelle.
Okay.
Nobody calls me that. Everybody calls me Holly Rocket.
Holly Rocket. Okay. So yeah. Where was the location of this that happened?
That's the part I'm a little unsure of where I was exactly, because I know I had left the club, so I was a little bit further down from it, but I wasn't so far away that I couldn't. Maybe if I was like a runner, I could have run back to the club, but I'm not a runner. So.
Okay, and so this happened near the Denver's Track nightclub, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I know Denver's, like, the Track's nightclub. Joel, which is Nina Flowers. I'm like, I know her backwards and forwards. I've known her for a few years now. and everything. So what was the account of like what happened? Like how did this like start?
I stopped to actually ask them where like the closest bus or train station was, and they started asking me weird questions.
And what kind of
because I was just like, I like looked around and I was like, I guess I'll just walk towards downtown because I don't know my way around and my phone was dying. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And some of it's a little fuzzy because I was drinking, but I know I like turned and I was like, oh, I'll just walk towards downtown. And then I started walking towards downtown. And then there was like a group of men and I stopped and asked them like, hey, am I headed in the right direction to go to the light rail, to go home, you know?
Yeah.
That's when they decided that they would push me into the concrete and beat me up. So.
And so what, like, just so that way everybody can, like, have, like, a reference of understanding, like, what kind of questions were they asking? Because they mistaken you for a trans woman knowing that you're biologically female.
Yes. They asked me if I was a woman. And I thought that was a really odd question. So my answer was like, yes, honey, I'm all woman. Just like that, which I don't think they liked the way that I said that. But, and then they, you know, they started yelling at me and saying that I needed to be my real self. And that's when they pushed me down. And I could just kind of like, you know, I got knocked unconscious. So then I heard things like, you stupid little fucking faggot. And this is what people like you deserve. And some... I don't want to be like partisan because politics, but they were saying things like Trump will take care of people like you. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask, I was like, do you feel like the stuff that's been going on in the media and stuff with Trump has inflamed, like, basically targets on the backs of LGBT members in general?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I think that they're giving hate-filled people a platform on which to stand where they feel like they are doing like the world a favor or a service by hurting people that are LGBT and beyond. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, just the fact that like a Nazi rally was not as offensive as Black Lives Matter should tell us that there's something seriously wrong with society. You know?
Like,
well, politics.
I personally would have, I would personally have Black Lives Matter over, a neo-Nazi rally any day. Any day. Like,
yeah.
Any day.
That's, like, Black Lives Matter is saying, hey, could you stop murdering my friends? Exactly. And family. And, like, Nazi rally is like, I'm going to murder your friends and family. Like, obviously one is wrong and the other is a protest, you know?
So my question is like, was this mentioned, because I have family that lives in Aurora, Colorado up there, and I asked my family if this was mentioned on the news, and they never even heard about it. Was it mentioned on any of the news platforms up there at all?
I don't think so. I think they just, like, I haven't went and got a full incident report, and since I was knocked unconscious and I did have a concussion, it's kind of like, there are, like, pieces that I can remember, but it's real fuzzy. So I've got to go, I know that, like, one person was arrested, but that may have just been like a disorderly conduct. So I have to go and file all the paperwork and make sure that these people are actually prosecuted for what they did.
So do you remember, like, when you were first walking up on them, do you remember what, like, they were wearing and how they looked, or did you see them?
They looked like regular guys, like khaki shorts and baseball caps. One guy was wearing flip-flops. And I'm always going to remember those flip-flops because I hate flip-flops. I always think, like, why did you give up at your feet? You got dressed and then you just gave up. So the thoughts were extremely offensive. They were like brown, but I mean, they just look like regular people, like normal people. They could have been, like, for all I know, they could have been gay or straight or anything. I have no idea, you know?
So basically they were probably, like, you would say maybe in the ages of, like, maybe 20s and 30s?
Yeah, I would say that, yeah, they were probably in their late 20s, early 30s.
So basically your typical average, like, you know, pretty much almost fresh out of college frat boy that is very close-minded. Like,
yes,
okay.
Basically.
Oh, wow. Okay, so my other question.
I've never had any issues with like people that are like that. So like I've never had a reaction like this to who I am ever. You know, I look pretty metal, I think, which is very working class, and so like I'm still like amazed that this is what happened. You know.
Yeah. So another question that I know that most likely I'm going to get on YouTube is for those that are they want to say that they're trans allies, are allies of the LGBT community. In a situation like this, what would be your opinion on how people could help prevent stuff like this, especially when it comes to voting and stuff like that with bills?
Right. Definitely vote for people that are going to give trans people rights, like that believe that and fully and wholeheartedly say so. Because if they don't say so, they might just, you know, waffle backwards, you know. I think that, you know, volunteerism is really important. I did Food Not Bombs in Little Rock, Arkansas for almost 10 years, and I'm in a punk rock band that plays for charity. If you have a talent, use it for your community.
Yeah.
Because it really makes all the difference. I put it up on my Facebook page to donate to Lucy's Place. Lucy was a friend of mine who was transgender and passed away. And Penelope started a homeless shelter in Little Rock, Arkansas for LGBT people. So I'm hoping that as many people as possible can donate to that organization. I've just started researching here in Denver, so I don't know what to do yet. I've only lived here for I think it's been 6 weeks now.
If you can send me the link for that and everything for that organization, I can put it down in the description of the video, so that way everybody can find it.
Okay, yeah, I can totally do that. That's really easy. They have a link on Facebook.
I think the thing with your situation in particular is that I remembered having plenty of conversations with people saying, you know, if you think that, you know, this is going to just only affect trans people or trans women in general, you're wrong, because there's a lot of trans women that look like biological women, and when biological women are affected as much as trans women, like in your case, it's exactly what I was talking about. There was also another case here in Oklahoma where a woman was told not to go to the restroom because they accused her of being trans when she was biologically female. And even after handing over her ID, they still refused her bathroom rights because they were like, we have no actual definitive proof if you're trans because we don't know what's in your pants, you know?
Right.
And so it's just, you know, a lot of this stuff, it's not only going to affect trans people, but it's going to affect those that are cis as well. You know, and for those that don't know what cis is biologically assigned at birth, basically. So, you know, it's just...
I identify as non-binary, but I was born a woman, so, and I'm in a feminist band because women's rights are everything to me. So, but yeah, if you think, all it takes is, I went to cosmetology school. What if you didn't wax for 2 weeks? And then somebody assumes that you're not a woman or you're not a man. You know what I mean? This idea that we need to be concerned about what's in somebody's pants is so beyond ridiculous. So beyond ridiculous. If you are concerned about your child going to the restroom, go with them.
Yeah, go with them.
Go with them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's been everybody's argument. And I'm like, you know what I did? I took my son to the bathroom with me because I was a single mom. And I don't care that he was 8. He had to go to the bathroom. And there are family restrooms now. There's no reason that we even need to have this argument. This is just bigotry. That's all it is.
Well,
it's just a hate of like certain people.
Yeah, well, like a friend once told me, once you take sex out of the equation, then usually people don't care. It's usually just, it's behind closed doors that people freak out about. It's because since they don't understand it, they're scared of it, and because of what they don't know, what happens is what freaks them out. And so, in a lot of situations where I've had arguments with mothers talking about their children and everything, and I'm sitting there telling them, I'm like, anytime I've ever went to the women's restroom, I've never had an issue. Never. And the only time I did have an issue was when a father walked his daughter into the women's restroom and saw me standing there washing my hands and leaving, and he caused a scene. And I was like, I'm like, okay. I'm like, you're in here.
You're a man in the women's restroom, like an outrage.
I'm like,
I don't even understand. Like, somebody asked me, they were like, why is this still a thing? Because the bathroom laws and stuff, I think that's how a year ago or longer, I can't even remember. But the fact that people are still writing this is ridiculous. Like, and he said, people are still talking about this. And I was like, still talking about this. Yes, they're still talking about this. This is still an issue. And I don't understand why it was an issue in the first place.
Well, I know, like, when I started transitioning back in 2012, doing HRT, hormone replacement therapy, like, when I started transitioning, I noticed that there wasn't that big of a deal. Like, it wasn't really that big of a deal. And, and I'm not going to lay all blame on Caitlyn Jenner, but I do remember that when Caitlyn came out, all of a sudden, it was this huge question of, what restroom do they use? Do they use the men's or the women's? Well, what about this? What about that? And then it became this huge ordeal. And then, of course, some churches got involved. It became a huge deal. And here we are today. And I remember when I was, growing up young as, a beginning transitioning person, and I say young because I've only been transitioning for 7 years. So, for the very first 3 or 4 or 5 years, I could walk out my door and nobody would ever question. They would either just think I was a drag queen, or I was just a woman, or they would just think that I was a boy that just loved to wear makeup and everything. But then when the trans subject came out and it was, oh, it's men dressing as women and they go to the women's restroom, what about our children? And then it became a huge deal.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think about how visible everything became, like how so many people could walk around and just pretend like these people didn't exist. Because I've always had trans friends. I can't remember, like, I can go all the way, like, I'm 41 years old, and I can go back 20 years, and I still remember having a friend that was trans. They didn't use that word back then. They were just like, I don't feel like I'm a boy. I feel like I'm a girl, And I'm like, cool, you're a girl. Let's go. And nobody, I guess with the Caitlyn Jenner thing, and I'm sorry, I'm like so in the punk rock underground that like all things abnormal are normal, and I don't. Like these ideas that all these people are seeing this and they're scared because everyone's afraid of change. I added you on Facebook, by the way, just because I thought you were pretty. and then you ended up being like this person that I like admire and have like continued to follow, and I really respect your courage so much.
Thank you.
Like, especially at moments like right now where I just got beat up and I'm like, the thing was I think they wanted me to tell them, like, no, I'm really, like, they wanted me to go back on it. And I was just thinking, like, it's none of your business. It's none of your business for anybody. Like, I felt like I would betray all the people I know that are trans if I would have just been like, no, like, but this, you know, because, no, fuck those guys. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. Like, I mean, I remember a few times that I was attacked here in Sand Springs, and what's so crazy is I still live in Sand Springs, and I still get attacked, you know? So it's like, the last time that I was attacked in Sand Springs was still, like, well over, 10 years ago, but, like, it never leaves you. Like, once you've been in a situation as a trans person or a gay man or, a gay woman or whatever, it makes no difference. Like, it stays with you. And it does something to your psyche that it takes some time to get over. Like, it took me about 1.5 years to actually feel okay stepping out of my house again. Because I felt like every person that looked at me wanted a piece of me and everything, or wanted to hurt me. And I was also afraid to see those certain people again, And so, I don't know, it's very traumatizing. And to people that don't understand what it's like and can't really put themselves in people's shoes that have been attacked for reasons like this, it's hard to convince them that, look, what you go and you vote for, the conversations you have and the things that you do either stops or basically helps stuff like this happen. So either you can either influence someone's behavior or you can stop someone's behavior by telling them no. It's kind of the same thing that if you see somebody being racist, you don't just let it happen, you tell them to stop and everything, because that's how you stop the cycle. You don't just let it keep going,
Exactly. Yeah. The first day I wanted to hide. It's been 1 week now. I'm going back to tracks tonight. I want to see my friends perform. I am definitely not going to drink as many drinks as last time because I want to keep my wits about me better. But I can't, I refuse to let these fools win. They're not going to win. They're not going to make me hide. I'm going to fight hard.
And see, that's the same passion and respect and courage that the same people that did Stonewall riots had and everything. When people suffer the things that, like, you have and I have and so many others, it's best to get up and keep going, because it's kind of like the same thing in every gay pride that you hear. I'm here, I'm queer, and I'm not going anywhere. Period.
Mm-hmm. And I'm non-binary, pansexual, polyamorous. So I've had some conversations in my life. Like when I was in high school, I came out as bisexual because I didn't know what pans was back then. And like, I don't even think that was a word back then. It was 1993. And that was when I came out as bisexual. And the kids in my class, like this was my art class. So I thought I could come out in my art class. It's an art class, right? And they harassed me so bad that I hid under a desk crying until my teacher pulled me out because the teacher left the room for like 15 minutes. And, I've cried enough now. I've cried since, I was 16 then. So I've cried enough. I just want to fight it. You know what I mean? The punk rock in me is like, oh, this is just giving me fuel. I knew that I needed to be here, and I knew that I needed to stand up for my friends, but you just solidified how much it's needed, Like, sometimes when you're surrounded by, all the people that love you, you forget that there are people out there like this. I forgot that people that are hateful and want to beat people up. I almost forgot they existed. And the world reminded me, hey, you can't just lay down and sleep. You got to go and work harder. I've looked up some volunteerism here. I haven't figured out which one I'm going to do, but I'm definitely going to put a lot more effort into the trans community because this is fucking ridiculous. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of people thinking it's okay to hurt people on purpose, just out of your own fear and hate.
And you know, the thing is, though, is like people, I think people that are like, you know, Trump supporters, neo-Nazis, you know, all those crazy people and everything, I think they forget and everything that those that are African American, those that are LGBT, the reason we are who we are today and we are the toughest that we are today is because we've had to fight for everything that we have.
Right. Like, I'm a working class punk rocker. And the punk rock scene was split. That people thought that we should give Trump a chance because they think he is not that he's not homophobic or transphobic. I've had a few people argue this to me. There are people that thought that he's shaking things up. He's changing things he's changing things at least. And honestly, I think we needed to know who the hate-filled people were. We need to, because it's so easy to just pretend they don't exist when they're quiet. And as awful as this is, it's a wake-up. It's definitely a wake-up because, you know, it was really easy to become complicit during the Obama administration while laws were being passed like marriage equality, thank God, finally. But then you knew that there was going to be a backlash for this. I mean, we all knew, right? We all knew there was going to be some sort of backlash because the evangelical Christians are losing a big chunk of America because people are starting to be more compassionate. The groups that are doing these hateful things, they're getting smaller. They're getting smaller. But I feel like I was just reminded that they're still there. They're still there. We still have to fight them. We still have to, as terrible as this sounds, we still have to listen to them because they exist. I want there to be more love in the world. We're going forward, but I just think there's so much more to do.
I still think that, you know, because I remember the conversations and everything, because you had mentioned you had conversations with people about if he was homophobic and transphobic and stuff. And I had this one conversation with somebody that was all like, well, you know, I don't think that Trump is transphobic. And I was like, well, here's my thing, you know, like, because, you know, I told that person, I was like, look, I'm going to respect your opinion because that's, you know, that's your opinion. But at the end of the day, do you think Barack Obama would have banned trans people from the army?
No. I'm sorry. He's got Mike Pence with him, who is definitely transphobic and homophobic, who has been openly so and believes in conversion therapy. So every morning I wake up and I'm scared of what this man has said or is doing.
Right. Well, he's supposed to be meeting with the North Korea leader, John.
I know.
And I think a lot of people are kind of sitting here and going like, but I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording on the video and everything. But and then we can still continue talking and everything. But other than that, thank you for the interview. Also too, if you happen to find out any more information, if they have to catch them or something, message me, let me know, and I will let everybody else know. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.